Hi everybody. So this is Your Story Part 3. I had to think about that. So Your Story Part 3. One of the things that I really talk a lot to clients about, because it comes up so much, is the story that is created around relationships, the story that is created around romance. So again, this is what I invite you to do over the next few days, years, decades, is to connect into what films you grew up with. What did you grow up with? Well, I grew up with one of my favourite films that I remember from childhood, for instance, was Robin Hood. You know the Disney film Robin Hood? You know the old one, 70s one? Yes. So yeah, I could probably sing all of the songs from that film. And of course, one of the things I loved about it was I loved the animals, and I loved the whole theme of what it really let us be within that. So I'm going to ask you to have a think about what you grew up with. What was your favourite film? That will depend on your age. And so if you grew up in the 70s, then your films are going to be the ones from the 70s. If you grew up in the 80s, then they're going to be different. If you grew up in the 90s, they're going to be different again. And as I talk to clients about this, they start to connect in with what their favourite film was. So I'll give you really a brief example of some of these. So some films that come up in conversations, especially about romance. In the 70s, there was Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. And the films that when we saw there, Snow White was, you know, a beautiful, and Prince Charming came along. And so a lot of the time, people who were brought up with those films created a story around who they were and who they are in that particular film. Yeah, does that make sense? So if you have a think about your favourite film, and then if you were going to say, who am I in that film? Best one that comes up, because I do love this film as well, as Shrek. And I was talking to a client not so long ago, and it turned out that her favourite film was Shrek. And so when we were talking about relationships, or we were talking about how that is for her, what came up was the story that she had created around Shrek, around that he was a bit of an ogre, but he came good at the time, and that actually Princess was also a bit of an ogre some of the time, but that both of them had something beautiful around them. Just ask yourself what story is going to be created and what presumptions are going to be made. And when you look at your story and you look at your favourite film, have a look at what expectations were created for you to do with relationships, to do with romance, whether you are looking for your princess or your prince, whether you are expecting your prince to be a bit of an ogre that comes good eventually, or whether you're expecting your prince to be, you know, gorgeous and broad-shouldered and, you know, whatever. So have a think about what that means for you. Write it down if you want to. Have a think about how that is creating your belief, how that is creating your expectations. And then ask yourself how that is limiting your ability to live a truly amazing, authentic life. Because the beauty of this is that, especially with relationships, we end up attracting the kind of relationships that ask us to look into those parts of us that are happy to be released. So think about that. What was your favourite film as a child? What was your favourite book as a child? What was your favourite book as a teenager? If you were relating to that character in the film or the book, why? Why were you relating to that character? within that, the great thing is that we can use this in a positive way, because we can also do the other way, and we can say, if we're going to rewrite our story, what books and what films would we really like to step into and take something from a character that really appeals to us, and we can use that to also change our story. So I also ask you to do that, to think about what films are really resonating right now and why. Have a think about, if you were going to be somebody in a film, who would you be, and why would you be them? What are their characteristics that really, really appeal to you? And I wonder if there's a way that you could think about what you would like to let go of the old story to be able to step in to the new one, to you. Have a good day.